Good evening and welcome to the Jon Gaunt podcast. Yes, it's early, 4:30. I should have said this last night. It's because the football's on and I want to watch the Sky Blues. So here we are then. Starmer, Reeves, the whole of the Labour government are dead men walking. And I'll show you why in this podcast tonight. But I want your views as well. Do you agree with me? Are we nearing the end of this lousy Labour government? I got up this morning to watch Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, the so-called Chancellor of the Exchequer. She was going to make a speech that was meant to calm the markets and say, don't worry about all this budget speculation. She was expected also to say, yes, there is going to be an income tax rise. I watched her. 28 miserable minutes she stood at the podium, and at the end of it, I was no more informed than at the beginning of it. It was the most boring, embarrassing, rabbit in the headlights performance I've ever seen, and that's unfair to a rabbit as it gets run over on a road. This woman is useless. This woman is helpless. She's hapless. She is clueless. We all know she fiddled her CV. And now, of course, she's crooked, Rachel, with all the nonsense. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, yes, no, I didn't know, Prime Minister. She is a crook. She's committed a criminal offence trying to let out her house. But we're letting her run the economy. Well, we're not. Starmer is. But then, of course, that's the next question. Where is Wally Starmer? Where is he? I'll tell you where he is. He's either in Brazil or he's on the plane to Brazil because he's going there for Prince William so they can launch this ridiculous COP30 nonsense, his prize, his eco prize. If they were so eco, why aren't they doing it on Zoom? Anyway, let's go back to the incompetent Rachel Reeves. She stood up this morning and the markets fell down. They didn't just fall down, they collapsed after what she said. The pound tanked. Confidence vanished. And Labour's so-called steady hand has now well and truly dropped the wheel or the tiller. She did look like a rabbit in the headlines. Did you see her? You've maybe now seen the headlines, or bits on the internet, bits on the telly. She was a disgrace. She has wrecked the economy. And in this speech today, in case you haven't seen it, let me tell you, she blamed everyone. She blamed the former Conservative government, which kind of fair enough. But 14 or 16 months into their reign, how much longer are they going to go on? It's like Ben Elton talking about Mrs. Thatch. He got material out of that for years. Sometimes you've got to move on and you've got to take responsibility. This lousy Labour government under Starmer never take responsibility for their mistakes, do they? She had no humility, just like Starmer. And as I say, Starmer made sure he was out of the country, so he hasn't had to deal with the fallout. Tomorrow, in Prime Minister's Questions, the clown Lammy is going to be standing in, so we're told, for Starmer. I would imagine Kemi Badenoch will take him to the cleaners. What an absolute joke. Apart from, this is our country. This is jobs in our country that these incompetent buffoons are wrecking. They came into power promising change. The only thing they bloody change is every line in their manifesto. It was all a pack of lies. They've done the complete opposite. And of course, today, what she wouldn't say, and therefore has spooked everybody even more, but she didn't even have the backbone to say, yes, income tax, VAT, is going to go up. Because it clearly is, income tax and VAT. Both of which were manifesto promises. She's having to break them. And that's why she looked like this today. Look at her. What does she look like? Huh? What does she look like with her tongue out like that? She's a mess. She's a joker. A complete and utter joke. And we've got to get rid of them now. We can't afford for this to go on for another 2 or 3 years. Good message here from David. He says, David KT, how can someone with only one head be so stupid? Very good point indeed. I also want to talk about the BBC within this podcast as well. So get ready for that. So if you've got views on the BBC, I want to hear from you. And that's just another reason why Starmer should not be in Brazil. He should be in this country. He should have sent Lammy, plenty of Jaffa cakes there, so I'm told. He should be here dealing with the crisis, the small boats crisis, although I see the leftists saying, oh, no small boat migrants have arrived in the last 10 or 11 days. Do these clowns never look out of the window? It's because the weather's been so bad. They'll be back. Don't you worry. Also, before I go any further, I also want to say brilliant about, let me get his name right. They call him Sam, but Samir Zatouni, the man on the train who basically stopped the madman from knifing any more people. He's injured himself. He's still in hospital in a serious but stable condition, thank God. But I say, and I said it earlier on Twitter, as soon as they named him, this man must be knighted. Do you agree with him? The hero of that train. He should be knighted as soon as he can stand up again. And on the subject of knighthoods, I was delighted that David Beckham got his finally today. Another thing we're going to talk about tonight is the BBC. You wanted to talk about it last night. There's a bit more meat on it now, but there's still a lot more to come out. The BBC, and you must have seen the reports about this, I was proud. When I first got a job at the BBC, I was like on cloud nine. I thought it was brilliant. This was 20 odd years ago, before it was taken over by the woke cultural Marxists. But can you believe the BBC, and you see those adverts for, they had them all on today. I was watching it earlier. BBC Verify. They employ 64 people to check that the news is correct. Not just their news. They've got this superior, holier than thou attitude, so they check everybody else's news. And they love nothing better than crucifying anyone who gets anything wrong. Who appointed them to be the moral guardians of broadcasting? I thought that was pathetic Ofcom's job, and we don't need them as well. Don't like what you're watching, what you're listening to, you don't need Ofcom. You've got an off switch. Easy. Look at something else. Put your hand on your little knob, twiddle it, and watch something else. But the BBC, 64 people in their Verify department, and now it's come out that they altered a video of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, they stitched together two bits of film. There was an hour gap between it. It was after he lost the election. And basically, they made it look like he was saying, let's have a riot, that he was inciting people. He was doing nothing of the sort. We suspected this at the time, but there was no proof. Now, a leaked internal memo has proved, without a shadow of a doubt, the BBC and its Panorama, their top program, was biased towards Trump. I saw Adam Bolton, the fat slug who used to be on Sly News, who's married, of course, as I've told you before, to Angie Hunter, who was Tony Blair's gatekeeper, so to speak. He's been saying on Twitter or X, oh, it doesn't really matter because it was a week before the election, after about, when they stormed the Capitol, and everybody had made their minds up. What? I thought you were a political journalist. That's no excuse, you fat lump of lard. Absolutely no excuse. But in your holier-than-thou liberal, Labour-supporting world, that's okay. Imagine if GB News had done this to somebody like what's his name? Starmer. There'd be hell to pay. The BBC, you're forced to pay for it. If you don't pay for it, you go to prison. No wonder people are saying, I'm not paying any more. Where do you stand on this? Because I've got to tell you, my friends, I'm never going to pay it again. Never, ever in a million years. And I don't want to really say this, but I'm going to say it. The BBC, the license fee now, that's it. This is the final nail in their coffin. Let's get rid of the license fee. And if the BBC want to put up biased shit like that, they can test it on the market and let's see if people are willing to pay for it. GB News, whether you like them or not, they've led the way. They're completely market-led. And they've got to get more advertising. But again, of course, the lefties have tried to organise a boycott against them, calling them racist. The whole thing is crooked. Tim Davie, who I know, I've met him, I've eaten with him actually, quite a nice guy, but he's an idiot. Because this is where it gets really bad. Panorama stitched up that film, but then they were all told about it in the higher echelons of the BBC, and guess what? They covered it up. They didn't have a proper investigation. So now, heads must roll. Tim Davie, if you don't know who he is, he's the Director General of the BBC. He must be sacked or he must resign. And have you noticed today, this isn't on the BBC website, this story. It wasn't on the 1 o'clock news. It wasn't on breakfast news. They're hoping it's going to go away. Well, it's not, as far as I'm concerned. So I want your views on the BBC. You just cannot trust them. And then later today, it's come out that the BBC Arabic service, no surprise here, they've been too biased towards Hamas, the terrorist scum, and basically have made out that Israel are a bunch of murdering so-and-sos. And then you wonder why we've got violent unrest and demonstrations, and why 250,000 allegedly radical Muslims are going to march on the Villa ground tomorrow because they've managed to get the team, Maccabi Tel Aviv, not to be able to bring their fans, but that's not enough for them. Now they're protesting and they're going to march on the Villa. I don't know why. Haven't they got what they wanted? It's like all these other idiots. Free Palestine. What do you have to do to get a free Palestine? It's an absolute joke. But it's the BBC who have helped to stir this pot. And now they are caught by their ghoulies. Well, they don't have any ghoulies. They're hoisted by their own petard. I don't know about you, but I think we should all be really angry about this. You can't believe a word they say. We know that they are prejudiced and biased against anybody with a right wing. Even today, Tommy Robinson was in court. He was found not guilty. The case was thrown out. The sneering way the woman from the BBC reported it, again, was incredibly disgusting. Complete bias. If we're going to have a public broadcaster, they've got to be balanced. They'll always have a slight, twist on it. I understand that. But you balance it up in the next show. But if it's something which is having to be paid for by every single person in this country, they cannot be so institutionally biased. It's like Sarah Smith, John Smith, the ex-Labour leader who died tragically of a heart attack. They say he was the best Labour leader they never had. His daughter, have you seen her when she's outside the White House? She sneers. Every time she says Trump, it's as if she's saying shit. It's like she's got something on the bottom of her shoe. I hope that Trump sues the arse off them, wins, and then gives all the money to GB News, all the damages. That would be such a stitch-up, don't you think? Or Elon Musk, maybe he should take it on, because he funded Tommy's case today. And of course Tommy was innocent. You can't be arrested for not letting somebody look in your phone. They had no right to arrest him for that. It was a political arrest, a political persecution. Thank God the judge didn't want it to go any further. Right, that's it. So that's what we're talking about tonight, and lots of comments coming in already. Give me all your comments. Give me your views on the BBC. Give me your views on Rachel Reeves. I say Rachel Reeves and Starmer are dead men walking. And also I say we can't let this carry on. If those two were dogs, they'd take them outside and give them the big injection, and they would go to live on a farm in Wales, wouldn't they? By the way, I'm not advocating anyone kills either of them, but you get what I'm saying. Rachel Reeves today didn't have a clue. She was clueless, absolutely clueless. And the panic in her eyes constantly. You know what I mean? Her arse cheeks must have been clanging. She just was terrible. And she's in charge of the country at the moment, along with David Lammy, the Jaffa Cake King. And then Kemi Badenoch, to be fair to her, she gave a speech after it, and it was a lot better. At least it had some passion. Rachel Thieves knows the game is up, don't you, Rach? That's why you got your tongue stuck out, eh, love? You're finished. You should be in court for what you did over the house as well. Oh, have you noticed that as well? Everybody's having a go at Andrew. Don't get me wrong. Prince Andrew, I think he deserves everything he's getting, although he's never been found guilty in a court of law. But he's been stripped of everything. But Lord Mandelson, friend of the nonce as well, Jeffrey Epstein, he's kept all his rights, all his privileges. He is still Lord Mandelson. Two-tier society, that's what we've got, where the self-serving pigs look after themselves. Right, let's get your comments. Oh, Joanna Kempton, 6691, just given a super sticker via YouTube for £1.50. Thank you very much indeed. If you'd like to donate, just press the $sign and donate whatever you can. And if you're thinking about buying me a coffee, this is the last day today for this week. So if you're going to do it today, please. www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. You can, of course, buy a beer if you prefer. That starts at £5. Could really do with your help to keep these things going. All right, where are we next? That's Joanna Kempton. Thank you, Joanna. Very much appreciated. The Bristol Channel, B9N. I think Kemi will run her out of a job soon, and hopefully Starmer after. We shall see. Mark Cavill says the Milky Bars are on me. What's that about? Oh, I see. Because I'll tell you what it is. He's just offered. Oh, sorry. I've just lost him now. He donated anyway. He's just donated. Where's that gone? There it is. A super sticker for £2 here on YouTube just by clicking the little $sign. Thank you, Mark. It's much appreciated. It really is. Right, let's take some more comments from you. What are we going to do, though, Gaunty? This lot will never give up power. They'll even take us to war so we can't vote. Do you know what? Off to the pub. I think I'm probably going to have to agree with you. I could see that happening because they want to send our boys and our girls already to the Ukraine. I don't want our children to fight Russia, not for the Ukraine. Do you? And you see today, Germany are just giving them millions more. We're getting dragged into something we don't want to be in. And then Starmer, that's why he's at this conference. He loves to hobnob it. Sorry, they're not biscuits. A hobnob with the knobs, doesn't he? Oh, he loves knobs. He really loves knobs. He loves anybody who's got a bit of power. Yeah, he'd rather be with them than with us, the common people. He's an absolute disgrace. Craig Mawson, YouTube. Hi, John. I totally agree with you about the hero on the train. Yeah, what a man. What an absolute hero. Sammy, that's what everyone calls him, or Samir Zatouni. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. A true British hero. Mick Frinton C says, regarding the BBC, Trump should sue them like he sued ABC and he was awarded $15 million. I agree with you. I said earlier, he should sue the BBC. And then when he gets the damages, which would be millions, billions perhaps, give every penny of it to GB News, or maybe some independent broadcasters or podcasters. Just stitch them up, make their money fund proper radio, proper broadcasting, independent, where at least you know my bias, unlike the BBC who pretend they are, we're so liberal, when actually they're just pushing their Labour cultural Marxist agenda. When I worked there, you only had to mention the M word, and suddenly you'd look up, and like in a radio studio, it's just like Night Call or whatever it was called. That was a good show, wasn't it? Where you look, the presenters in the room, in the studio, and you look through this triple glassed window, and that's where the producers are fiddling the knobs and getting the guests up and stuff. When you mention the M word, especially after 7/7/9/11, the whole of the control room was suddenly full of guppies talking to each other. Middle management shitting their pants. What's Gaunty going to say? Because they had me down as a racist. Even though I'd got them the biggest figures they'd ever had, whether it's BBC Luton, check the facts. BBC London, check the facts. But they sort of thought I was I was a necessary evil. I'm not racist. I'm certainly not anti-Muslim either. I'm just anti-Islamist nutcases who want to kill us or rape our children. I think that's perfectly acceptable, isn't it? But the whole control room used to fill up with these people because their agenda is totally different to the audience they serve. And it absolutely got on my tits's. And so when I got offered the job on The Sun, I couldn't wait to go. And people said, Murdoch, he'll tell you what to say. Let me just tell you something. Rupert Murdoch, or the upper echelons of News Corps, News International, they never told me what to say. I think I've told you this before. There was only one instance. I wrote a column about Maddie McCann after she'd been missing for years. And they asked me, do you mind if we don't print that? And I said, why? Do you know you're censoring it? And they said, no. There's a rumour they're going to find the body, right? The Portuguese police, or our police, can't remember who it was. So it'd be best not to print it in case that happens tomorrow. That was the only time. Now, I think that was taste and decency. I don't think that was censorship. But at no other time was I told what to write or how to write it. Yes, I had sub-editors, brilliant bloke called Chris, who made me sound better just by twisting a few of the words around. But even then, he would say, I've changed that line. Are you okay with that? And I'd read it. I thought, it makes me look even better. It makes me look as if I know what I'm doing. It was a team effort, basically, is what I'm saying. But I was never told what to do. The same happened when I worked for Sputnik, which I get criticism for as well, which was the state broadcaster, I guess, Russia Today. Never once did they tell me what to say. Where I got censored, let me tell you now, was on the BBC. I didn't get censored at Talk Sport. Maybe I should have done, then I wouldn't have got the sack. But there we are. That's the facts. Now, you don't like it? Sue me, BBC. Anytime you fancy, I'll get Elon to pay my costs. Off to the pub. I refuse to watch BBC, ITV and Channel 4. They're all biased scum. I follow citizen journalists on YouTube to see the facts. I used to laugh at people like you, mate. But, I've become a real advocate of that as well. So I'll watch videos from different people, right, left, centre, all over the place. And then I'll make my mind up what I think. Because when you watch the BBC, you're right. You can see the prejudice. You can see the bias. Maggie Morley, I haven't paid for 2 years, John. I don't watch it. I ain't paying for it. End of. By the way, has anyone made a statement about this corruption? No, Maggie. No. Absolute silence. Starmer, of course, has got the excuse. He's away. He should be commenting on the state broadcaster, but he's not. He should be calling for the sacking of Tim Davie. I'm sorry, this is a sacking offence, and the book has to stop with the top man. But no, Starmer, he's gone to Brazil. He's going loco down in Acapulco. Although, isn't that in Mexico? Sorry. But anyway, he's gone. He's off on another big fat freebie along with Khan. Oh, and I tell you, I mentioned in my podcast last night that a woman called Tracy Brabin, who I used to know, she's an actress. She was in Corrie at one point. She's the mayor of some part of Yorkshire. I think it's West Yorkshire. She was bragging, oh, look, here I am. I'm in Brazil at COP30. Cop a load of this sort of thing. Posing in a big white dress. Might have been a marquee, I'm not sure. But, that was uncalled for. But, today, I've had loads of you getting in touch with me saying, oh, our mayor's gone. Mayors from all over the country have gone. I noted most of them were Labour mayors. What's all that about then? Oh, I think we know, don't we? We ended federal subsidies for PBS, the Public Broadcasting Service. This is in America. This is James R.C. Irvin on Facebook. I refused to watch them years ago. They only support the left of Great Britain. So they're on zero watch in America. Thank you, James. You should watch GB News over there, actually. All British people should stop paying the licence fee now. Let the BBC get sponsors or advertise. Any foreign people caught protesting in our country should be deported. Well, I agree with all of that. You're absolutely right. How many more people have to get raped? How many more people have to get murdered by these flip-flop army? And they're still not on top of them, are they? But going back to the sponsors or advertising, yeah, I have always thought, the beginning of Coronation Street, it's sponsored, isn't it, by a tea company or used to be Cadbury's. Why can't the BBC do that with EastEnders? Don't have to actually have adverts. It wouldn't detract, would it? Might detract from their cushy lifestyle, I guess, and their being able to culturally Marxist tell you what the world really looks like when it looks like nothing like that in real life. They probably wouldn't like that, would they? But anyway, it's simple. None of the old guard institutions are worth a wink. That's interesting, Paul, because I thought about that. I did wonder about whether to do a show about, do you trust anyone now? Doctors, police officers, anyone. Do you trust any politicians? Maybe we'll do that later in the week. James Locke says, I'm new here. Great show, up the Sky Blues. James Locke, 1718. Good to have you on the board. Sky Blue Army. What do you reckon tonight then? I think a hard match. I think 2-1 to the mighty Sky Blues. Can't wait to see it myself. So we'll get finished soon. After the Tommy result, I think it's safe to say it's no longer a conspiracy. The government has become a tyrannical regime, says Alien Intelligence Agency on YouTube. A few weeks ago, I laughed at you, mate, but I can now have quite a bit of sympathy with that attitude. Thank you. Someone's just put up a Union flag. That's Marco Wright, 2960. Panorama tried to stitch up Tommy Robinson too. Yeah, but he turned the tables on them, didn't he? They all hate him. I'm not his best mate, but I have known him for years and years. I was one of the first people ever to interview him because, of course, he was from Luton. And I interviewed him recently, well, relatively recently. In fact, when he got into trouble about this, what do you call it, contempt of court, I told him at the time, you want to be careful because you're going to get sent down. And he did. But anyway, that's a different issue. But I think some of what he says is very important to hear. But the mainstream, lamestream don't want it, do they? That's for sure. If you want to talk about Tommy, you can. Thank you, Elon Musk, for Tommy's top lawyers. They tied the prosecution in knots and they made them look silly. Well, yes, but I don't think there was much tying necessary, if I'm honest with you, because there was no case. We're stopping you. Why? Well, because you're Tommy Robinson and you got a mobile phone and you got a load of cash in your roller. None of that's a crime, by the way, but they're just trying to stitch him up. And I see these things always backfire. Why do people do it? They're stupid. Anyway, Gaunt I was just about to say Trump should sue the crap out of the Beeb, says Joanna Kempton 6691. Well, we all want that. We want him to do that. And then I want him to give the money to GB News or to independent podcasters, especially fat ones from Coventry who haven't had a shave. But in the meantime, I'll take a coffee off you if you fancy. The BBC have never been independent. It's always been the state mouthpiece. And now it's interfering in a foreign election. Well, let's keep this in perspective. It wouldn't have affected the election because although Panorama is shown over there, it's not massive. However, that's not an excuse like Fat Boy Adam Bolton's trying to say, because the BBC are meant to be one of the most trusted organisations in the world. They're meant to be impartial. Now, we all know impartiality is impossible. This is why this case is so important. And let me tell you, this will build over the next few days. And by Saturday, at the latest, he'll be gone, Tim Davie, without a shadow of a doubt. Waffle, waffle, waffle. You having a go at me, Maggie? Oh, no, hold on. Spoke for half an hour and said nothing, says Maggie Morley. She is, of course, talking about Rachel Reeves. That's what I thought in the end. My head hurt. And then I thought, well, don't be too biased, John. Did she say anything of importance? No. Absolutely no. It was all BS. Panicking BS. But it didn't do what she wanted it to do. Because now the markets have reacted. The pound has dropped like a stone. And I think 21 billion wiped off the stock market. What was the point of the speech? What was she trying to achieve? If she'd said, look, I'm telling you now, and I'm really sorry about this, but I am going to have to raise income tax. And then if she went through the line of excuses, it was everybody from Trump to Brexit to Farage to COVID to whatever. Oh, she had every excuse in the book. At least then we could argue from that point of view. But she didn't. She still hasn't told us. Christopher Hope summed it up best on GB News. He said, it was like going to the dentist, having the anaesthetic in your mouth, you know, the old cocaine or whatever it is, and then being told, we're not going to take the tooth out for 3 weeks. Exactly. Summed it up perfectly. Well done, Christopher. Alien Intelligence Agency has just chucked in £2. Thank you very much, my friend. He says, great work and enjoy your shows. Thanks. Well, thank you for enjoying them. Please spread the word. And thank you for your donation. I thought my voice was better. It's hurting me again. But if you want to donate, don't forget, it's very, very simple. Just click the little $sign and donate anything you want. £2, £3, £5, £10, £50, £100, whatever. Or go to buy me a coffee /Jon Gaunt and donate whatever you want. The Saxon, I don't know why you've just said sausages. Are you trying to be funny? Because it isn't, basically. Citizen journalism is the way forward, says Alien. You're right. This is ridiculous. Where's my comment gone? What the F? I'm out. Well, so are you, Marco, right? 2960. I probably just haven't got to it yet because there's hundreds here. Why don't you just calm down? I did read out one of your comments. I know because I remember saying about your name. What is your problem? Are you paranoid? Do you just think everybody's after you? You're not that important, twat. Nearly spat my coffee out laughing at you saying 2-tier never. Never here. Loving the knobs. Oh, I don't know what you mean by that. I meant knobs as in posh people. People with money and influence, Joanna Kempton. I don't know what you mean. Gaunty, you need to start up a new radio station with Mike Graham. Oh, God. I don't trust GB News or Talk TV. I won't be doing it with Mike Graham, I don't think. He hates me. But anyway, such is life. Mainstream media are irrelevant, says James Locke, 1718. It's certainly going that way. Woke Tim Davie is Boris Johnson's best mate. Is he? He's everyone's best mate. Tim Davie is one of these typical top BBC people, has a way of working the room. I actually got on with him on one level. What's this? Malfunction 8165 says, going loco in Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, but it kind of doesn't work the same, does it? That's what I'm saying. Don't worry. I'll give you lessons in comedy later. A 4-lane highway known as Avenida Libertad, Avenue Liberation, I suppose that means, is being constructed through tens of thousands of acres of protected Amazon rainforest to improve access, says Billy No Mate 1606 on YouTube. Correct. I read about that. Absolute disgrace. It goes to Belém, the host city. The project has resulted in the destruction of 15,600 trees, significant water loss, and the displacement of hundreds of species, including 78 mammal species and 390 bird species. Good information, Billy No Mates. And kind of sums up the hypocrisy of these green zealots. Don't forget, the only reason Starmer's gone to Brazil is because he's worried about gap-toothed idiot face Zach from the Green Party. You know, the one who wants to legalise all drugs, get rid of the police. Don't know what that's got to do with it being well, it's green and naive, I suppose. Maybe that's how it fits in. But he's only doing it because he's worried he's going to take more of his voters. To be honest, BBC, GB News, Sky, none of them broadcast as good as you guys used to. They don't have anyone like you or Galloway. It's all very mediocre, says the Bristol Channel. You know what? That's an interesting point you're making. Because me and Galloway, obviously, are diametrically opposed politically and everything. But I respect him because he speaks his mind. And that's how what talk or radio, the genre, not necessarily the station, used to do. Used to be about strong opinions, didn't it? Whereas now it's very much like, oh, you be left, I'll be right. And it's crap. I'm not talking about a specific station. I'm talking about all of them. Right, where are we going next? Mark Cavill, he says, 1892, the people have seen through the government. Mark Devon says the BBC tried to do a hatchet job on Elon Musk last night. I think that was Panorama. You know what? I watched that show. I watched half of it, and then I recorded it because I was cooking, I think, and I came and watched the other half. Yeah, they tried to, but not just Elon Musk, also the guy who set up PayPal with him. I can't remember his name now. But it was this whole idea that the tech billionaires were taking over, but they didn't have the courage of the conviction. I think the BBC must have bricked it, thinking, hang on, we don't want to get into a tussle with Elon Musk and the other geezer. However, now with this report about Israel, and indeed the report about the bias of the BBC with Trump, they've got big trouble coming their way. It's Mark in Devon. Mark Cavill, 1892, please don't write things like that you've just written, because you can't prove any of that, and all you'll do is get me taken down, and I don't want being taken down for something you say. I'll say things that are on the edge. So take that off now. In fact, maybe I should just take that off. I'm just deleting that comment. As a fellow Coventry lad, what is going on in Birmingham is scary. The game at Villa Park has nothing to do with the game, but it's pure intimidation of Islam over Christianity. David KT. It makes me feel like that as well, my friend. John, has Miliband gone to clock up more air miles? Probably. I don't know. I was told yesterday that Starmer's taken 400 people with him. 400 people. That's almost as many as the bloody BBC take to Glastonbury. But they still allow that foul-mouthed idiot to stand up and basically attack Jews. They do. They send about 400 to that, the BBC. Anyway, Coventry City is calling, and I will be off to watch it in a moment. So thank you for joining me earlier. That's very kind of you. Thanks for your donations. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your contributions. Mark now says, that's better, Mark. I like Galloway. He's left but not woke. Original working class, but his head is in the Middle East. Why? Well, because that's what he concerns him the most. I don't agree with him. But I'll never forget when he went, was it the Senate or Congress, and he took them apart? We need people like Galloway in British politics. Like I say, don't agree with him, don't support him. But it doesn't mean I can't listen to what he has to say, does it? Right, no one's given me a prediction for tonight. I'm saying 2-1. Up the Sky Blues, enemy playing beforehand. And the final thing I want to say is if you really want to help me, the best thing you can do, please subscribe. It's free to Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube. Just go to it and a little pop-up comes up. It says, do you want to subscribe? Say yes. Then you'll always know when I'm doing a show. And like today, when I've had to go early, you know about that as well. Also, if you want to donate, you can press the $sign on the video on the YouTube whenever you want, even when I'm not live. Donate some money there. If you're watching this after 6:30, thinking it's a live show, sorry, it's not, but I hope you've enjoyed it anyway. I've got terrible hiccups now. And finally, if you want to buy me a coffee, don't forget today is the last day. Go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt and you can donate anything like a $5 upwards. Or subscribe to me on Facebook. I saw that as well. There's loads of ways of helping out, whichever one you fancy. Maggie Morley, maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow, Maggie. Anyone see the 7 riot, please turn up to a young fella's house over 77p pot of food? No, I never saw that, but it doesn't surprise me. They said they go mob-handed for hurty words, don't they? Well, if they're white people. Anyway, that's the end of the show. I'm back tomorrow at 6:30. Until then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Don't forget to tell them you love them. Thanks for watching or listening today. See you tomorrow at 6:30. Play up, Sky Blues. See ya.